Want to hear me?
Yes.
I thought that as I'm a new member to this group,
Yeah, you can't stand in front of the projector.
no, I've got it right now in face. It was only fair to tell you a little bit about who I am, where I come from, so that you know who your new member is. I was born in South Africa.
Just need to have this for the recording.
Okay, so
If you stand there, here.
okay. I was born in South Africa and brought up in and around Johannesburg. For the last 3 years of my schooling, I went to boarding school in the Orange Free State, and in the last year I was assistant head girl, which was very useful training in management and leadership for me for later on. Having finished school, I went to university in Natal, Pietermaritzburg, to do an arts degree because I wanted to be a teacher. Now, at the end of the very first week of my time there, I went to a meeting of the Students' Catholic Union, and I was introduced by our little priest to the chairman. I thought he was pretty good, actually. And apparently I was quite cheeky to him, because the priest said to him, "You better look out for that girl." Well, he has for the rest of his life. We were going out. In those days it was called going steady by the end of the first term. After 2 years, he finished his degree and was going back to what was then Rhodesia. I had another year to go, so we decided we would get engaged. And when I finished my degree a year later, we got married. There we go. Pristine condition. Thank you, Joe. You can turn it off again. Don't need that for too long. And I set off to live in Rhodesia. Now, I went to a research station out in the bush, and there was not a lot for me to do there, so we started a family. Our aim was to have 2 children, and then a break, and then 2 children. Well, 2 children came quite close, and then the 3rd one started on its way. And we thought, well, we can't have 3 and a break in 1. So we had all 4. So that by the time I was 25, I had 4 children. After a few years in Rhodesia, which is now Zimbabwe, we went back to South Africa to a research station north of Durban. It was very useful for me because my family, my parents lived in Durban, and it gave the children grandparents. After a few years there, Joe was offered a research position at the University of Aberdeen. It was a postgraduate research position for a year in the northeast of Scotland, in Aberdeen. And so, of course, we had to go. Now, you'll understand that a postgraduate fellowship is supposed to keep one person housed and fed. There were 6 of us. It was a hard time. We were really severely quite poor, but the Scots were wonderful. It wasn't long before the grocer, for example, noticed that I was buying very little at the grocery, and he offered me his cracked eggs that he usually had to throw away. Well, of course, I loved them. And then shards of cut cold meat from where they carved the cold meat. Loved those too. And a lovely lady down the road, whom I got very friendly with, and she had 3 little girls, I had the 4, all played together. They used to play mostly in my kitchen with pots and pans and things. And when winter came, because we'd come from summer in South Africa to summer in Aberdeen, which was just like going to winter, but then we went to winter. And she gave me cast-off jackets and things for the kids, which was lovely. The Scots are beautiful, wonderful people. We saw snow for the first time, which was really quite interesting. And altogether had a couple of very good years in Aberdeen. Then our lease on the house, rent on the house, ran out, and we moved to a farmhouse north of Aberdeen, which was cheaper, called Inverebree Mains. It was on a pig farm. The house itself was 2-foot thick granite walls. The ceilings of each room were about 12 foot high. The heating was one tiny coal fire at the end of each room. Well, the vestibule in the house never got above 5 degrees for the whole of winter. So the girls slept 4 in a double bed, 2 at one end and 2 at the other end. It's the only way they could keep warm. And they had a wonderful time. The 2 older girls started school there, and they walked a mile or so to school. I used to meet them in the afternoon coming home, because otherwise they'd spend their time playing with the sheep. And spent a lot of time with the pigs in the piggery. One day, I had said to them, "Don't be long, it's nearly lunchtime," and they didn't get back. So I stormed over to the piggery to bring them back. Met them with eyes as big as saucers. "What have you been doing?" "We saw 13 and a half piglets being born." I said, "What happened to the other half?" "Oh, it was out when we got there." So it was a lesson in life for all of us. 3 years in Aberdeen led to an offer to work for Joe to work on a research station south of Bristol. Well, that sounded much warmer to me. So off we went to Long Ashton, and Joe and we were there for 10 years. We had a lovely little house with a sunken garden where the kids used to play, and all started school there. As soon as they were all at school, I went back to university and did my postgraduate teacher training course and started teaching at school. And for the first time in our lives, we had some money. Following 10 years in Aberdeen, in Long Ashton, Joe was offered the job as Chief of Forest Research at the CSIRO in Canberra. So of course we had to come to Australia. By then, Joe was working on how trees grow in different climates. So of course this was another climate we had to go. I taught at the girls' school, at the school the girls were at in Canberra, which was quite interesting in itself, but worked very well. And started helping a Morris brother who was at the neighbouring school of boys, who was running a DOE-based camp, as it were, training out in the bush for teenagers. I started helping him. After several years, he retired and I took over, and I ran the group for 17 years. Over that time, it got bigger and bigger. We bought property. The parents and the students all helped build our camp there, and it worked very well. I had over 1,000 students go through the group while I worked there, and it was the most rewarding years of my life, I think. And as David said, I'll give you a detailed account of it because it is very interesting another time. After 17 years, Joe got the offer. Joe, in the meantime, he had a year and a half in Washington, which I hadn't been able to go because I was too busy. But when he was offered a position in Finland for a few months, he said he wouldn't go unless I could go with him. And I thought, well, this is time to give up now. So I passed on the group to parents and ex-students and went off to Finland with him. Finland was wonderful. The Finns are great people. Not many of them talk English, but they were very helpful, very friendly, very kind. And our few months there was really very worthwhile. One of the memorable parts of that time of our life was spending a long weekend up in the Arctic Circle in a little chalet that the Finns had, that the university had. And during that time, we booked to go on a dog sledding trip. Well, we met the guide. Sorry, I missed that. When I'd finished with the Duke of Edinburgh, the parents nominated me for an Order of Australia medal, which I was duly awarded. And that's me getting the medal with the Governor General at Government House, with my husband and 2 of my daughters and husband. Anyway, yes, you can go on. Sorry, Joe. When we went dog sledding, I was sat in the sled with an untanned reindeer skin to cover me. Joe was standing at the back. We had 6 or 8 dogs, huskies in front. And our guide said, I've got this little snowmobile, I'll accompany you. Well, as soon as he started, hum, to start his thing, off went the dogs. The problem was he couldn't start the engine. And we were down the track and this noise was getting further and further back. And these dogs were going faster and faster. Eventually we heard the dog sleds, the snowmobile start up, but by that time it was too late. In the middle of the path was a tree. Half the dogs went one side, half the dogs went the other side. I went into the tree. Joe went into me. And there was a tremendous shambles. Eventually he caught up with us, untangled everything. Here, Joe, hold a dog. Here, Diana, hold a dog. They were wild, those dogs. And got us all set, and off we went. But it's an experience I have never forgotten. When Joe retired from CSRO, one of my daughters who lived in London got hold of us and said, we've just bought a property in the Blue Mountains. Would you like to go and manage it for us? Well, what a lovely way to spend your retirement. So off we went to the Blue Mountains, to a place called Mount Wilson, which is a little enclave in the very northwestern corner, right overlooking the national park, and pretty well half an hour from anywhere. This was the house that we were managing. We stayed in the caretaker's cottage. I didn't want to live in the big house. But it was once owned by Patrick White's family. And it was a heritage home. The garden was pretty neglected, so we set about starting to bring it up. And after a few years, my daughter and her husband came out from London, settled in Sydney. She's a landscape gardener, and they used to come up every weekend and pretty well told us what to do. And we got the garden all settled. This is the outlook from our cottage. And the house itself, we stayed there for 20 years, was a most marvellous gathering place for the whole family. Christmas dinner with the family. We used to gather for Easter and Christmas and birthdays and any sort of celebration we could think of. It was a most wonderful, wonderful 20 years. During the 2019 fires, the fire was coming right up the valley, and the girl said, "You've got to leave." We said, "We can't. We can't leave this house. We've got lots of water, we've got pumps, we've got hoses. We're both members of the Rural Fire Service. I'm a community first responder. We can't leave." So they sent all the grandsons up to help us, and the fire came very close. We could see it from the house, but it didn't actually threaten the house at any time. Anyway, after the fires passed, the girl said to us, "You've got to leave. We're not having you up here anymore. We can hope." It was during COVID, and they said, "Do you want to go to Sydney, where 2 of the girls lived, or Melbourne, where the other 2 lived?" And I said, "No, I don't want to go to Sydney." So they organised us to buy a lovely little unit, about 5 minutes walk from one, 10 minutes walk from the other girl, and we're still there. It was a really, really good move. We're close to shops, we're close to doctors, we're close to everything here, close to nice walks in the park. We miss Withycombe, which is what our place was tremendously, but still it's lovely here. And I thought I'd finish with a picture of us and our 4 daughters. They have given us 12 grandchildren, and the grandchildren have given us 5.5 great-grandchildren. And we intend to be here for the rest of our lives. Thank you very much.
Where are you living now?
In Ivanhoe.
Ivanhoe, thank you.
We're having lunch here, so if anyone's got any questions, I'll happy to answer them.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Diana.